Hello, we are going to make a paper plate loom. We need a paper plate. I believe there is also the plastic, but for now we have the paper plate. And then you'll have your thread or yarn, preferably different colors. For today, I'll just have the black. But by the time you're doing the craft, ensure you have different colored yarn, different colored twine, if you may call it that. So you'll have your scissors, you have your twine, you have your pencil because there'll be markers. Definitely either you have sellotape or masking tape, okay? And you will need a printout or a guide for where to cut out on the slits. So if you don't have it, don't worry, you'll just be guided accordingly. But the main thing you need to notice is that the slits need to be an odd number. They may not be that evenly spaced out, but they need to be an odd number. Okay, so the first part, you need to secure your yarn. So you already made the markings, okay, an odd number. And then you get your yarn or your thread or your string, okay. And then let me use masking tape. And then you secure your yarn in at the back of your paper plate, okay, because that's where we need to start off. So there, you secure your yarn. And then you decide. At this point, there's no particular formula, but this is what you need to notice, that if you start at 1, oh, we forgot to cut. So you have a tiny slit on each. Remember, not too far into the plate. We need that structure. And then it's just tiny slits, tiny all the way. As I said, an odd number. Okay, there we go. You have secured your yarn, your thread. And then for me, if I start at 1, so that is there, I'll go like directly to the opposite, like where it could be straight across. And then there are two ways of doing this. You can either decide that you will be, you see that, like the entire at the back this way, okay, where now you have done that, and then you go to 5, and then you go to that way. So you don't have to have the numbers, but you're just focusing on the one that is next. Notice I am doing this at the back. I'll show you another method in just a few minutes. So you have that, and then you go, you have this slit, okay, there we go. And then we have that. Remember, it was an odd number, so you get to, let's say now in this case, coincidentally, an odd number is 7. So you decide. Remember, another thing you need to keep in mind is this yarn should not be too long. You can add knots. If you don't know how to tie a knot, we ask. Kuuliza sio ujinga. Asking is not showing that you don't know. It's a sign of growth, okay? I believe that's the best way I can translate. So if you're using the same thread, which I would advise, the same color of thread, you just try as much as possible without, oopsie, got tied up somewhere. You just tie it, you see, like make a small knot, and that's why this should not be too long. You make a knot into the middle there. Remember, this should not be too tight and not too loose. At least, because if it's too tight, the paper will cut off. If it's too loose, the loom. But this will, it's still okay. We can fix it at the back. So here you can now start with the under, over, under, over, under, over. Don't be surprised if you keep on asking yourself, is it under or over? And then you pull the thread. That's why you should not have a very long one. Like this one, I need to trim it a little bit so that it doesn't catch. But let's see. And then you do under, over, under, over. You need to be paying attention too, so that you know whether but it's okay if you make a mistake. We can learn from that. As we said, it's part of life, isn't it? And then we go on, that is under, over, and then you keep doing that. And as you weave, you tighten it in the middle, not too much, and then you keep doing that over. You see, you see what I'm saying? So if you forget something, so this is under, then over, under, over. So you need to pay attention. As I said, oopsie, it should not be too long. Okay, it has decided to, okay, there we go. So you keep doing this over and over again. And then if you have a different color of thread or yarn, you will connect it with. And now you know how, do you know how to tie? When it comes to tying a knot, you can either put the two strings, the two edges together, and then loop it through your finger, index finger, and then you loop it through, tighten it, and then you can cut off, not the knot, and then you have, and then you continue. So now just imagine that you go on with the particular what do you call it, color, and you keep on doing that until, I believe by the time you'll be seeing this, there'll be a sample that the teacher or the volunteer will be showing you, so that you can see what a finished product will look like. And even though you don't finish it here, you can finish it at home, or you can start another one at home, because it's all about learning something new. Okay, so you keep doing that over, you continue, and then remember we are tightening, so you go round, and then you decide at what point you will finish. Now remember when I mentioned there is this way of you looping your thread. The other option is this way. Okay, now how do I demonstrate this? Allow me. So instead of going, okay, so instead of going this way across the back of the paper plate, you go from one. So let's say you're here, you will do into the slit, and then you at the back that way, and then you cross over. I hope that makes sense. And then at the back that way, and then you continue. So there are two ways that your craft will look at the back, as long as you have secured them. So you will either go with all at the back or just through the slots. Okay, so I believe by the time you're finished, by the time you're seeing this, you'll have a sample of a finished product with different colored yarn. Okay, so try that out, and I would love to see your finished product. Enjoy, and let's see you let's talk in the next video. Bye bye.